The mining station on Kepler-7 buzzed with activity as another shipment of rare minerals prepared for transport to the core worlds. Alex Turner wiped sweat from his forehead and adjusted his worn mining helmet, playing his role perfectly. For 50 years, humanity had mastered the art of appearing weak, primitive, and useful only for manual labor. "Move faster, human," barked Overseer Grath, his scaled hide gleaming under the artificial lights. The reptilian alien towered over Alex, confident in his species' supposed superiority. "The Federation Council expects these shipments on schedule." Alex nodded submissively while his enhanced neural implant recorded every detail of the stations. Defenses. Hidden beneath his dirty work clothes, microscopic sensors mapped the facility's weak points. The information would join terabytes of intelligence that Earth had been quietly gathering for decades. Beth Collins emerged from the engine room of their cargo vessel, the Resilience, her hands deliberately stained with grease. She had spent the morning performing routine maintenance that any child on Earth could have done in minutes with proper tools. Instead, she used primitive wrenches and manual diagnostics, maintaining the illusion that human technology remained centuries behind. Federation standards. "Fusion drive is running hot again," she reported to Alex, loud enough for nearby aliens to hear. "We might need to stop at the next refueling station." The watching aliens exchanged amused glances. Fusion drives were considered ancient technology. By Federation standards, suitable only for short-range cargo hauling. They had no idea that the Resilience's true power source was a quantum singularity generator that could propel the ship across the galaxy in hours, rather than months. David Kim sat at the communications console, his fingers dancing across controls. That appeared cobbled together from salvaged parts. To Federation observers, he seemed to struggle with basic long-range transmissions. In reality, his console connected to a network that spanned every human settlement in the galaxy, using encryption methods that made Federation security look like children's toys. "Incoming message from Earth," David announced. "Standard supply requisition." Alex read the message on his handheld device, seemingly squinting at the small screen like someone with poor eyesight. The text appeared to be a routine request for mining equipment and medical supplies. Embedded within the innocent words, however, lay instructions that would reshape the galaxy forever. Protocol Omega had been activated. The message filtered through hidden channels to every human installation across Federation space. In maintenance tunnels, miners received the signal on devices disguised as simple work tools. On agricultural worlds, farmers looked up from their fields as quantum receivers built into their plowing equipment delivered the same instruction. Even in the heart of Federation space, human servants and laborers felt their concealed implants vibrate with the coded message. The time for deception had ended on Rigel Prime. Ambassador Linda Hayes sat in the Federation Council chambers, enduring another session where alien representatives discussed humanity's future without consulting them. The massive chamber held delegates from hundreds of species, their advanced technology on full display. Holographic projectors showed real-time data from across the galaxy, while translation matrices allowed seamless communication between wildly different life forms. "The human population has reached optimal size for our mining expansion," declared Chancellor Vorth, his crystalline form pulsing with satisfaction. "We can begin full deployment to the Outer Rim immediately." The proposal horrified even some Federation members. The Outer Rim represented the most dangerous mining territory in known space, where radiation and hostile conditions killed workers within months. Sending humanity's entire adult population there amounted to genocide disguised as economic necessity. "Surely we can find volunteers," suggested Representative Clicks, her insectoid features showing concern. "Forced relocation of entire populations violates several Federation principles." Chancellor Vorth's form flared brighter. "Humans reproduce quickly and adapt well to harsh conditions. Their loss will be minimal compared to the resources we'll gain. Besides, they lack the intelligence for more complex tasks." Linda Hayes rose slowly, her movement causing several alien delegates to turn in surprise. Humans rarely spoke during council sessions, and when they did, their comments were usually dismissed as primitive observations. "Chancellor Vorth, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. Earth formally rejects this proposal. The chamber fell silent. In 50 years of Federation membership, humanity had never directly opposed a council decision. The silence stretched as alien minds processed this unprecedented defiance. You reject? Chancellor Vorth's crystalline body dimmed with confusion. Humans do not possess rejection rights. Your species holds advisory status only. Linda Hayes smiled, and something in that expression made several nearby delegates uncomfortable. Our status is about to change dramatically. Before anyone could respond, every human in the chamber received the same quantum pulse that had reached their colleagues across the galaxy. Maintenance workers in the building's sublevels felt their hidden equipment activate. Human staff members throughout the complex checked concealed chronometers and began moving toward predetermined positions. The Resilience departed Kepler 7 right on schedule, its cargo hold filled with the expected mineral shipments. Federation tracking systems followed its progress as the ship lumbered toward the hyperspace jump point, its primitive engine struggling with the massive load. Alex Turner maintained his weary expression until the ship cleared the station's sensor range. Then he allowed himself to smile as Beth Collins began powering up systems that had remained hidden for decades. Quantum drives online, she reported, her voice now crisp with professional efficiency. Stealth field generators ready. Weapons. Systems armed and awaiting orders. The Resilience shed its disguise like a snake molting old skin. Hull plating retracted to reveal sleek armor beneath while weapon ports opened along the ship's transformed surface. The primitive cargo vessel vanished, replaced by a predator that belonged in Earth's secret fleet. David, signal all human vessels. Alex commanded. Begin Phase 1. Across the galaxy, similar transformations began. Cargo ships became warships, mining stations revealed hidden weapons arrays, and agricultural colonies activated defense systems that had been disguised as irrigation equipment for decades. The Federation had spent 50 years believing they ruled a galaxy where humans served as willing laborers. They were about to discover that Earth had spent those same 50 years preparing for war. In his private chambers aboard the Federation flagship, Chancellor Vorth reviewed the day's proceedings with satisfaction. The human rejection of the mining proposal amused rather than concerned him. What could such a primitive species do against the combined might of the Federation? Their ships could barely maintain orbit, their weapons technology lagged centuries behind current standards, and their political structure remained laughably simplistic. He had no way of knowing that every transmission from his ship was being intercepted and decoded by human intelligence networks. His battle plans, fleet deployments, and personal communications all flowed to Earth's military commanders, who had been preparing responses to Federation strategies before those strategies were even implemented. The galaxy slept peacefully that night, unaware that humanity had just declared war on everyone. The Federation patrol fleet Domination's Pride cruised through the Tau Ceti system with casual arrogance, expecting another routine enforcement mission. Commander Zephyr reviewed his orders on the bridge, confident that bringing a few rebellious humans back in line would take no more than an afternoon. 5 human vessels detected ahead, reported his tactical officer. Standard cargo configuration, minimal shielding. They appear to be fleeing toward the system's edge. Zephyr barely looked up from his datapad. Human ships were notorious for their poor performance and outdated technology. His single patrol fleet could easily handle dozens of their primitive vessels without breaking formation. Signal them to halt and prepare for boarding, he ordered. Standard intimidation protocols should suffice. The human ships continued their apparent flight, their engines producing the familiar energy signatures that Federation databases had cataloged for decades. Fusion drives operating at maximum capacity, barely managing to accelerate their bulky cargo holds toward the hyperspace jump point. What the Federation sensors couldn't detect was the quantum field generators hidden within those cargo holds, or the gravitational weapons disguised as industrial equipment. Earth's engineers had spent 50 years perfecting the art of hiding advanced technology inside primitive-looking hulls. Moral Kate Morrison, observed the developing situation from her command center deep within the asteroid belt surrounding Sol. Hidden bases throughout the system monitored every Federation movement while preparing for the revelation that would change galactic history forever. Tau Ceti engagement beginning, reported Captain Williams from his position at the tactical display. Our ships are maintaining the deception until the last possible moment. Kate nodded, watching as decades of careful planning finally came to fruition. The Federation had grown so accustomed to human weakness that they had stopped looking for signs of strength. That blindness would cost them everything. All fleet commanders report ready, Williams continued. Hidden bases are powered up and awaiting orders. The enemy has no idea what's coming. In the Tau Ceti system, Commander Zephyr grew impatient as the human ships ignored his signals. Federation protocol called for warning shots when lesser species failed to comply with direct orders. Fire across their bow, he commanded. Show them we mean business. The patrol fleet's energy weapons discharged, sending brilliant bolts of plasma past the fleeing human vessels. The shots were carefully aimed to miss, intended only to demonstrate Federation superiority and encourage quick surrender. Instead, the human ships suddenly stopped fleeing. Sir, the tactical officer's voice carried a note of confusion. The human vessels are changing course. They're turning toward us. Zephyr frowned at his display screens. The 5 cargo ships had indeed reversed direction and were now approaching his patrol fleet. Their energy signatures remained unchanged, still showing the same primitive fusion drives and minimal defensive systems. Perhaps they're finally ready to surrender, Zephyr mused. Maintain weapons lock but hold fire. Let's see what these humans have to say for themselves. The lead human vessel opened a communication channel, and the face of a middle-aged human appeared on the main screen. Captain Peter Ross looked tired and defeated, exactly what Federation officers expected from their intimidation tactics. Federation Patrol, this is Captain Ross of the merchant vessel Liberty, the human said in a weary voice. We're prepared. To discuss terms, Zephyr smiled with satisfaction. Another successful enforcement action that would be completed without significant effort. Captain Ross, you and your vessels will submit to immediate boarding and inspection. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your ships. I understand, Ross replied, his expression remaining carefully neutral. However, I should probably mention something first. The human captain's tired demeanor vanished, replaced by a cold smile that made Zephyr suddenly uncomfortable. For 50 years, the Federation has believed that Earth's technology remained primitive and our military capabilities were minimal. This assumption was incorrect. Before Zephyr could respond, the 5 human cargo ships began to change. Hull plating retracted to reveal sleek armor beneath while hidden weapon ports opened along their transformed surfaces. The primitive fusion. Drive shut down, replaced by propulsion systems that bent space itself around the vessels. Zephyr stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. The ships that had appeared weak and outdated moments before now registered energy signatures that exceeded his fleet's combined firepower. The Sol Defense Fleet wishes to inform the Federation that humanity's peaceful facade has ended, Captain. Ross continued, his voice now carrying absolute authority. Your patrol fleet has 30 seconds to power down weapons and surrender, or we will demonstrate why Earth has remained hidden for so long. Panic erupted across the Federation bridge as tactical officers tried to make sense of readings that seemed impossible. The human ships moved with impossible grace, their new configurations revealing technology that shouldn't exist. All ships, open fire! Zephyr screamed, abandoning protocol in his desperation. Destroy them before they can attack! The Federation patrol fleet unleashed everything they had, sending streams of plasma bolts and fusion torpedoes toward the transformed human vessels. The barrage would have been sufficient to destroy a small moon representing the combined military might of multiple advanced civilizations. The human ships absorbed the attack without taking damage. Energy shields that operated on principles the Federation had never encountered simply converted the incoming weapons fire into harmless light, which the human vessels then redirected to power their own weapon systems. Impossible, Zephyr whispered, watching his fleet's most powerful weapons prove completely ineffective. No technology can ... The human response came in the form of gravitational weapons that reached out across space and began tearing the Federation ships apart from within. Metal hulls twisted as localized gravity fields stressed them beyond their breaking points. Energy conduits overloaded when the fundamental forces holding matter together were selectively altered. The Federation flagship, Domination's Pride, lasted 14 seconds longer than its escort vessels, its heavier armor providing brief protection against weapons that attacked the very structure of matter itself. When the gravitational field finally penetrated its defenses, the massive warship simply came apart like a puzzle with its pieces scattered across the system. Captain Ross watched the destruction with professional detachment. Tau Ceti clear? He reported through quantum channels that connected instantly to command centers across human space. Federation patrol fleet eliminated. No survivors? The demonstration at Tau Ceti was replicated in dozens of systems simultaneously as humanity revealed its true nature to a galaxy that had never suspected the depth of Earth's deception. Hidden bases emerged from asteroid fields where they had been disguised as mining operations for decades. Orbital platforms that had appeared to be simple research stations unfolded into massive weapons arrays that could sterilize entire worlds. Dr. Robert Hayes supervised the activation of research Station Alpha, hidden within the rings of Saturn for 30 years. The facility had posed as a routine mineral extraction operation while actually serving as humanity's primary weapons development center. Quantum entanglement drives online, reported his chief engineer. We can now deploy anywhere in the galaxy. Within minutes rather than months. Hayes nodded, reviewing the intelligence reports flooding in from across Federation space. Every human facility was revealing its true purpose, shedding decades of careful camouflage to show the galaxy what Earth had really been building. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. It's time to visit our neighbors. The Federation Council chamber erupted in chaos as reports arrived from patrol fleets throughout their territory. Ships that had never lost a battle were simply vanishing, their last transmissions, describing impossible human vessels with technology that violated known physics. Chancellor Vorth's crystalline form pulsed with urgent light patterns as he tried to process information that challenged everything the Federation believed about galactic hierarchy. How many patrol fleets have we lost? 17 confirmed destroyed, reported the military coordinator, his voice trembling. 34 more have simply stopped reporting. Initial estimates suggest human vessels are operating in over 200 systems simultaneously. The chamber fell silent as the scope of humanity's deception became clear. For 50 years, they had been infiltrating Federation space under the guise of primitive traders and laborers. Now those same humans were revealing themselves as an advanced military force that could strike anywhere without warning. Ambassador Linda Hayes remained in her seat, watching alien representatives struggle with the reality that everything they thought they knew about humanity had been a carefully constructed lie. Her quantum implant kept her connected to Earth's command structure, allowing her to coordinate diplomatic efforts while the military operation unfolded. The human ambassador is still here, someone pointed out. Seize her as a hostage. Linda. Hayes smiled as security forces moved toward her position. I wouldn't recommend that approach, she said calmly. The security officers suddenly found themselves unable to move as localized gravity fields pinned them in place. Linda Hayes rose from her seat and walked to the center of the chamber, her movement causing the gravity fields around the security team to intensify. Earth's government wishes to inform the Federation Council that your authority over human space has been terminated, she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. We are prepared to discuss terms for your peaceful surrender. Chancellor Vorth's form flared with desperate energy. Surrender? You dare demand the surrender of the Galactic Federation? Actually, Linda Hayes replied, checking a readout on her disguised communicator, based on current battle reports, I'm demanding the surrender of what used to be the Galactic Federation. Your military has been effectively eliminated. The truth. of her statement was confirmed moments later as emergency reports flooded the chamber. Human fleets were appearing throughout Federation space, their vessels demonstrating technological superiority that made resistance impossible. Worlds that had never seen combat were suddenly faced with human warships that could destroy their entire defense networks without taking damage. The galaxy had awakened to discover that the species they had dismissed as primitive laborers were actually the most advanced military force in known space. 50 years of careful deception had paid off in the most devastating surprise attack. In galactic history, the fortress world of Andromeda Prime had never fallen in 3,000 years of Federation history. Its massive orbital defense platforms and planetary shields had turned back invasion fleets from dozens of species, earning it a reputation as the most secure military installation in the galaxy. General Marcus Stone considered this challenge. While reviewing tactical displays aboard the human dreadnought Retribution, "Impressive defenses," commented Colonel Emma Wright, studying the energy readings from their stealth position beyond the system's edge. 24 orbital platforms, each one capable of destroying conventional fleets. The planetary shield generator could probably withstand direct hits from fusion bombs. Marcus nodded, appreciating the engineering that had gone into making Andromeda Prime impregnable by Federation standards. Unfortunately for its defenders, humanity had moved far beyond Federation technology during their decades of secret development. "Time to show them what Earth's children have learned," he said, activating the fleet-wide communication system. "All ships, begin the demonstration." The attack began with weapons that the Federation had never encountered. Quantum-phase torpedoes materialized inside the orbital platform's hulls, bypassing shields entirely by existing in a different dimensional phase until the moment of detonation. The massive defense structures simply vanished in bursts of antimatter energy, their destruction so complete that even debris was converted to pure light. Commander Lisa Drake led the second wave aboard the assault cruiser Vengeance, watching as Andromeda Prime's supposedly impenetrable planetary shields failed under gravitational weapons that twisted space itself into impossible shapes. The defensive barrier that had protected the world for millennia simply folded in on itself and disappeared. "Landing zones secured," reported Major Tom Patterson from the planet's surface. "Resistance is minimal." Their ground forces weren't prepared for dimensional warfare. The human soldiers advancing across Andromeda Prime moved through reality in ways that Federation defenders couldn't counter. Personal teleportation devices allowed them to appear behind enemy positions without warning, while their weapons fired projectiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making conventional armor useless. Dr. Emily Foster supervised the technical aspects of the assault from her mobile command center, monitoring the performance of weapon systems that had been theoretical concepts just decades earlier. "Temporal displacement fields are working perfectly," she reported. "Enemy weapons are firing at positions we occupied several seconds ago." The Federation garrison commander tried desperately to coordinate a defense against enemies who could step through walls and fire bullets that traveled backward through time to hit their targets before the triggers were pulled. His most advanced tactical computers couldn't calculate firing solutions for weapons that didn't obey normal physics. "Surrender now and your people will be treated with honor," Marcus broadcasted to the remaining Federation forces. "Continue. Resistance and face technologies you cannot hope to understand." The demonstration at Andromeda Prime was repeated across the galaxy as human fleets emerged from their hidden positions to liberate worlds that had suffered under Federation oppression for centuries. Species that had been enslaved for generations watched in amazement as their human inferiors shattered the military might that had kept them in chains. Captain Sarah Mitchell commanded the liberation of New Altair, where the native population had been forced into labor camps for refusing Federation rule. Her ships appeared in the system without warning, their arrival announced by the complete destruction of the orbital control stations that had enforced the planet's subjugation. "This is Captain Mitchell of the Terran Liberation Fleet," she announced to the planetary population. "Your oppression ends today." The Federation overseers on New Altair activated their defensive systems, confident that their advanced technology would handle whatever primitive weapons the humans might possess. Their confidence lasted exactly 12 seconds, which was how long it took for human ships to reduce their defensive installations to molecular-level debris. Lieutenant Colonel David Reynolds led the ground assault with soldiers equipped for dimensional warfare. Federation security forces found themselves fighting enemies who could phase through solid matter while firing weapons that ignored conventional physics entirely. Target neutralized, Reynolds reported as the last Federation stronghold fell. All labor camps secured, local population is free. The native Altarians emerged from their confinement to find human soldiers offering medical aid and protection. These weren't the primitive laborers they had known in Federation space, but advanced warriors with technology that seemed like magic compared to anything they had experienced. How? Asked Elder Tamra, the surviving leader of the Altarian resistance. The Federation said humans were barely capable of space travel. Captain Mitchell smiled, helping coordinate the distribution of medical supplies that could heal injuries the Federation had deemed permanent. The Federation believed what we wanted them to believe. Earth has been preparing for this day since first contact. Meanwhile, the revelation of humanity's true capabilities sent shockwaves through Federation intelligence networks. Admiral Kate Morrison reviewed intercepted communications from her command center, watching as enemy analysts tried to understand how they had been so completely deceived. Panic is spreading through their chain of command, reported Intelligence Chief Robert Adams. They're trying to recall fleets from their frontier regions, but our quantum interdiction fields are preventing faster-than-light travel in 17 sectors. Kate studied the tactical displays showing human forces advancing through Federation space with unprecedented speed. Quantum entanglement drives allowed her ships to appear anywhere in the galaxy within minutes, while Federation vessels were trapped in normal space by humanity's superior technology. Phase 3 is ahead of schedule, she noted with satisfaction. Begin targeting their shipyards and production facilities. Time to make sure they can't replace what we're destroying. The shipyards of Rigel 7 had produced Federation warships. For over a millennium, their massive construction bays capable of building dreadnoughts that served as the backbone of alien military power. Chief Engineer Paul Richards watched from the bridge of the destroyer Nemesis as those same shipyards prepared to become history. Temporal bombs deployed, reported his weapons officer. Detonation in 30 seconds. The weapons that struck Rigel 7 didn't just destroy the shipyards in the present moment. Temporal explosives reached backward through time to unmake the construction projects that had been completed over the past several years, effectively erasing ships from existence by preventing them from ever being built, Federation crews aboard. Vessels that had been constructed at Rigel 7 suddenly found themselves floating in space as their ships simply vanished around them. The temporal weapons hadn't just destroyed the shipyards but had retroactively eliminated their recent products from the timeline. Impossible, whispered Admiral Gorthnex, commander of the Federation's remaining fleet elements. No species has mastered temporal warfare. It violates the basic laws of reality. His science officer checked her instruments again, hoping for different readings. Sir, our analysis confirms it. Human weapons are operating outside normal spacetime. They're not just defeating us, they're changing history itself to ensure we never had the resources to fight them. The psychological impact of humanity's temporal weapons spread faster than their actual military advance. Federation forces began surrendering without battle, unwilling to face enemies who could erase them from history itself. Entire star systems capitulated rather than risk having their existence retroactively terminated. General Michael Stone coordinated the liberation of slave worlds throughout the Outer Rim, where Federation strip mining operations had devastated entire civilizations. His forces moved with compassion as well as overwhelming firepower, demonstrating that humanity's advanced technology extended far beyond weapons. Medical teams are reporting excellent progress. Dr. Rebecca Hayes told him from the refugee camps they had established. Our nanotechnology can reverse most of the genetic damage caused by Federation mining operations. These people will be healthier than they've been in generations." The liberated populations watched in amazement as human medical teams used microscopic robots to repair cellular damage that Federation science had declared irreversible. Children who had been born with deformities caused by toxic mining chemicals were healed completely within hours. "The Federation told us humans were primitive," said mining supervisor Ken3, whose people had been enslaved for 3 centuries. "Your medicine is like magic compared to their technology." General Stone smiled, watching as human engineers began repairing environmental damage that had taken decades to accumulate. The Federation never bothered to learn what humans could really do. They were too busy looking down on us to see what we were building. The pattern repeated across hundreds of worlds as humanity revealed the full scope of their technological advancement. Terraforming equipment disguised as simple agricultural tools transformed dead worlds into garden paradises. Atmospheric processors that had posed as mining equipment cleaned polluted skies in hours rather than decades. Federation scientists monitoring these developments struggled to understand how such advanced technology could have remained hidden for 50 years. Every human installation they had observed seemed primitive by their standards, yet now revealed capabilities that exceeded their most optimistic theoretical projections. Dr. Vexta, the Federation's chief technology advisor, reviewed the intelligence reports with growing despair. "Their energy weapons operate by manipulating fundamental forces we didn't know existed. Their ships move through dimensions we haven't discovered. Their medical technology treats genetic conditions we consider permanent disabilities." Chancellor Vorth's crystalline form pulsed with desperate energy as he absorbed the scope of humanity's deception. "How long have they possessed these capabilities?" "Based on the sophistication of their equipment," Dr. Vexta replied quietly, "they were probably more advanced than us before first contact. Everything we've seen for 50 years was an elaborate performance designed to keep us from realizing the truth." The galaxy was learning that humanity had spent half a century perfecting not just the technology of war, but the art of deception itself. Every human they had encountered was a trained operative, every primitive device was advanced equipment in disguise, and every act of submission had been part of a carefully orchestrated plan to study Federation weaknesses while hiding Earth's true strength. The Federation's military superiority, built over thousands of years of conquest and technological development, had been shattered in less than a week by a species they had dismissed as barely capable of space travel. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The emergency session of the Federation War Council convened in the deepest bunkers of Proxima Station, surrounded by defenses that had never been tested in actual combat. Chancellor Vorth's crystalline form flickered with desperate energy patterns. As he addressed the surviving military commanders who had gathered from across the crumbling Federation, 3 weeks, he announced to the assembled officers. In 3 weeks, humanity has destroyed 60% of our fleet strength, liberated over 200 worlds, and demonstrated technological capabilities that our science academies declared impossible. Fleet Admiral Zexton S. Scaled Hide showed the stress patterns that indicated extreme anxiety among his species. "My lords, perhaps negotiation would be preferable to continued military action. Human forces have shown remarkable restraint with civilian populations." The suggestion sent ripples of shock through the War Council. The Federation had never negotiated with species they considered inferior, and the concept of surrender to former slaves challenged everything their civilization represented. "Negotiation is weakness," declared General Korthmex, his insectoid features rigid with military pride. "The Federation has ruled this galaxy for 3 millennia. We will not bow to primitives who learned to build starships yesterday." Chancellor Vorth studied the tactical displays showing the extent of human advances. Red zones marked areas under Terran control, and those zones were spreading faster than Federation forces could retreat. Within days, human fleets would reach the core worlds where Federation civilization had first developed. Admiral Thrick's status of the Grand Armada. Vorth commanded. The reptilian admiral consulted his tactical computer, his expression grim. All surviving fleet elements are converging on the Sol system as ordered. Current strength stands at 4,700 vessels from 32 species. The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. The plan was desperate but logical. If humanity's strength came from their hidden homeworld, then striking at Earth itself might force them to negotiate or at least reveal vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Every Federation ship that could still fight was being recalled from frontier sectors to participate in the assault. Intelligence estimates of Earth's defenses? Vorth asked. Chief Analyst Vakri activated holographic displays showing the Sol system. Minimal orbital installations, no visible defensive platforms, and approximately 300 human vessels in the area. Their confidence appears to have made them careless. The Federation leadership had no way of knowing that every piece of intelligence they possessed about Earth's defenses was carefully manufactured disinformation. Humanity's true defensive capabilities remained as hidden as their military technology had been for 50 years. Commander Tom Wells received the intelligence reports about Federation fleet movements from his position within Luna Base, which the aliens still believed was a simple research station. The massive facility burrowed deep into the moon's core, housed defensive systems that could sterilize entire star systems, while its surface maintained the appearance of primitive scientific equipment. 4,700 ships, he reported to Admiral Morrison. They're bringing everything they have left. Kate Morrison studied the tactical projections from her command center, watching as Federation forces converged on humanity's home system. Perfect, let them come to us. Time to show them what Earth has been building while they thought we were digging in their minds. The defensive preparations began with systems that had been hidden for decades. Orbital platforms that had appeared to be communication satellites unfolded into weapons arrays capable of channeling Earth's magnetic field into directed energy beams. Asteroid bases revealed themselves as mobile defense stations, their surfaces bristling with weapons that operated on principles the Federation had never. ENCOUNTERED Dr. Emily Foster supervised the activation of Earth's primary defensive network. From her control center buried beneath the Mariana Trench, planetary shield generators online, temporal defense fields active, quantum minefields deployed throughout the outer system. The approaching Federation armada had no way to detect the weapons that would destroy them. Quantum mines existed in multiple dimensional phases simultaneously, making them invisible to conventional sensors. Temporal defense fields would slow enemy ships to a crawl while allowing human vessels to move at normal speed. Admiral Gorthnex commanded the Federation's Grand Armada from the bridge of the massive dreadnought Galactic Dominion, confident that overwhelming numbers would succeed where tactical finesse had failed. 4,000 ships represented the combined military might of dozens of species, armed with weapons that had conquered the galaxy over 3 millennia. All fleet elements report ready, announced his tactical coordinator. Hyperspace jumped to Sol system in 60 seconds. The Armada emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons powered and shields raised for the assault that would determine the galaxy's future. What they found waiting for them challenged everything they understood about military science. Earth appeared completely undefended. Sensors detect minimal orbital installations, reported the science officer. No significant military presence. 300 human vessels in scattered defensive positions. Admiral Gorthnex frowned at the tactical displays. After witnessing humanity's devastating military capabilities, he had expected to face defenses that matched their demonstrated technology. Instead, the Sol system looked as primitive as Federation intelligence had always claimed. Trap? Suggested his second-in-command. Obviously, Gorthnex replied. But we have 4,000 ships. Whatever surprise they're planning, we have the numbers to overwhelm it. The Federation fleet advanced toward Earth in a formation designed to maximize their firepower while minimizing exposure to surprise attacks. Their approach took them past the orbit of Pluto, where the first of Earth's hidden defenses waited. The quantum minefield activated when the Federation vanguard reached the predetermined trigger point. Explosions began materializing inside enemy hulls as dimensional weapons bypassed shields and armor entirely. Ships that had seemed impervious to conventional attack simply vanished in bursts of antimatter energy. "Report?" Gorthnik shouted as his fleet began taking casualties from weapons they couldn't detect. "Unknown energy signatures throughout the system," his science officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. "Minds that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our shields provide no protection. The advancing armada lost 300 ships before they could identify the source of the attacks. Federation engineers frantically tried to modify their sensors to detect dimensional weapons while their formation began to scatter under the unexpected assault. "Continue advance," Gorthnex ordered. "Accept casualties and press forward. We have the numbers to absorb their surprises." The second line of Earth's defenses activated as the Federation fleet reached Jupiter's orbit. Temporal field generators hidden within the gas giant's moons began manipulating the flow of time itself, slowing enemy ships to a fraction of their normal speed while leaving human vessels unaffected. Federation commanders watched in horror as their mighty dreadnoughts began moving like insects trapped in amber. Their weapons fired in slow motion while human defenders darted around them with impossible speed, targeting weak points with surgical precision. "Time distortion fields detected," reported the tactical officer aboard the Galactic Dominion. "Our ships are operating at 1/10 normal temporal flow. Human vessels appear unaffected." Admiral Gorthnex felt despair beginning to replace his confidence as Earth's defenses revealed themselves to be far more sophisticated than anything the Federation possessed. "How many ships have we lost?" 800 confirmed destroyed. 1,500 more caught in temporal fields and effectively neutralized, came the grim response. The Federation's overwhelming numerical advantage was evaporating as they discovered that Earth's defenses operated on principles that made conventional warfare obsolete. Every weapon system they encountered demonstrated technology that exceeded their most advanced theoretical concepts. Commander Wells activated the final phase of Earth's defensive plan as the remaining Federation ships approached Mars' orbit. The red planet's surface erupted as hidden installations revealed themselves, transforming the barren world into a massive weapons platform. "Planetary defense grid online," he reported. "Mars base is ready to demonstrate why humanity chose this system as our home." The surface of Mars reconfigured itself as terraforming equipment that had been disguised as geological surveys revealed its true purpose. The entire planet had been converted into a fortress, its core replaced with generators that could channel stellar energy into defensive weapons. Federation survivors watched in disbelief as Mars began firing beams of concentrated solar plasma that could punch through any known defensive system. Ships that had survived the quantum mines and temporal fields found themselves facing weapons that drew power directly from the sun itself. "Impossible," Admiral Gorthnex whispered as his remaining fleet disintegrated under the planetary bombardment. "They turned an entire world into a weapon." The Galactic Dominion shuddered under direct hits from Mars-based plasma cannons, its armor plating beginning to melt under temperatures that matched stellar fusion. Emergency systems screamed warnings as the massive dreadnought's hull integrity collapsed. "All remaining ships, retreat to minimum safe distance," Gorthnex ordered, abandoning the assault as his armada's strength fell below critical levels. "We cannot advance against these defenses." But retreat proved as impossible as victory. Earth's outer system defenses had been designed to prevent escape as well as invasion. Quantum interdiction fields prevented faster-than-light travel while gravitational weapons reached out across space to drag fleeing ships back toward their doom. Captain Ross emerged from stealth position aboard the Liberty, his ship shedding, its cargo disguised to reveal the advanced warship beneath. Around him, hundreds of similar vessels materialized from hidden positions throughout the Sol system. "Federation fleet, this is Captain Ross of the Sol Defense Force," he broadcast to the surviving enemy ships. "You are surrounded by defenses you cannot overcome and weapons you cannot understand. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated according to the laws of war." Admiral Gorthnik stared at his tactical displays, watching as his Grand Armada was reduced to burning wreckage scattered throughout humanity's home system. 4,000 ships had been reduced to fewer than 300 operational vessels, and those were trapped by weapons that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. "Sir," his communications officer reported quietly, "we're receiving surrender requests from 67 ships. Their commanders are requesting permission to power down weapons and submit to human authority." The proud admiral felt his military career ending in the most devastating defeat in Federation history. Everything they had believed about human capabilities had been wrong, and that mistake had cost them their entire military force. "Signal all remaining vessels," he said with resignation. "Cease fire and prepare for surrender. The Federation fleet yields to Earth's superior technology." The Battle of Seoul ended not with humanity's destruction, but with the complete collapse of Federation military power. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia now drifted powerless in Earth's gravity well, their crews awaiting judgment from the species they had dismissed as primitive laborers. Dr. Foster monitored the aftermath from her command center, coordinating rescue operations for Federation survivors while securing alien technology for analysis. "Casualty reports coming in from all defensive sectors," she announced. "Human losses are minimal. Federation fleet strength has been effectively eliminated." Admiral Morrison reviewed the tactical summary with satisfaction. The Federation's desperate gambit had played directly into humanity's hands, concentrating their remaining military assets in a single location where Earth's superior defenses could destroy them efficiently. "Begin Phase 4, she ordered. "Time to accept the Federation's surrender and establish the new galactic order." Commander Wells supervised the boarding of Federation vessels as human Marines took control of the surviving ships. The aliens who had once enslaved human miners now found themselves prisoners of war, dependent on their former victims for basic survival. "Prisoners are cooperating fully," reported Marine Colonel Davis. "Most seem genuinely shocked by our technological capabilities. Several Federation commanders are requesting audiences to discuss surrender terms." The galaxy learned of the Federation's defeat through quantum communication, networks that humanity had been monitoring for decades. Species that had lived under alien oppression for centuries received confirmation that their oppressors' military might had been broken in a single battle. Chancellor Vorth received the news aboard his command ship at Proxima Station, watching as his civilization's 3,000-year reign came to an end. The crystalline being's form dimmed with despair as he absorbed the scope of their defeat. "The Grand Armada?" he asked his surviving advisors. "Destroyed or captured," came the quiet response. "Less than 200 ships managed to escape the Sol system, and those are scattered across the outer rim without central command." The Federation's political structure began collapsing as member species realized that their military protectors no longer existed. Worlds that had contributed ships to the Grand Armada found themselves defenseless against human fleets that could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. "Sir," his communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. They're requesting your presence for surrender negotiations." Chancellor Vorth's form pulsed with the final energy patterns of a dying civilization. "Inform the humans that the Federation Council accepts their authority. We will discuss terms for the transfer of power." The message traveled through quantum channels to every corner of human space, confirming what military commanders already knew. The Federation had been broken as a military force and was ready to negotiate the terms of their complete surrender. Admiral Morrison received the communication aboard her flagship, satisfied that humanity's 50-year deception had achieved its ultimate goal. The galaxy that had once enslaved Earth's children now lay helpless before the species they had underestimated. "Prepare diplomatic teams for transfer negotiations," she ordered. "It's time to begin building the new galactic government." The Federation's desperate gambit to destroy Earth had instead destroyed themselves, leaving humanity as the unchallenged masters of known space. The species that had hidden their strength for half a century now faced the responsibility of governing a galaxy that feared and respected their overwhelming technological superiority. The ruins of the Federation Council chamber had been cleared of debris, but the scorch marks on the walls remained as reminders of the old order's violent end. President James Carter stood before the assembled representatives of 300 species, his presence commanding respect from beings who had once dismissed humanity as primitive laborers. "The Federation is dead," he announced to the silent chamber. "What rises in its place will be determined by the choices you make today." Unlike the arrogant declarations that had once echoed through this hall, Carter's words carried the weight of absolute military superiority. Human fleets controlled every major star system in the galaxy, while Federation resistance had been crushed so thoroughly that organized opposition no longer existed. Ambassador Linda Hayes watched from her new position as Earth's primary diplomatic representative, no longer required to maintain the submissive facade that had hidden humanity's true nature for 50 years. The aliens who had once ignored her input now hung on every word, desperate to understand what their new masters intended for their species' future. "The Terran Protectorate offers membership to all species willing to accept certain fundamental principles," Carter continued. "Slavery is abolished throughout our territories. Forced labor camps will be dismantled. Species that have been oppressed under Federation rule will receive reparations and assistance in rebuilding their civilizations." The announcement sent waves of shock through the assembled representatives. Many species had accepted slavery and oppression as natural features of galactic civilization, unable to imagine alternatives to the Federation's brutal hierarchy. Chancellor Vorth's crystalline form flickered weakly from his position among the defeated Federation leadership. "President Carter, surely you cannot govern a galaxy of such diversity. The logistics alone require resources that no single species possesses." Carter smiled, gesturing toward the holographic displays that filled the chamber. "The Federation governed through fear and oppression, which required massive military forces to maintain control. The Terran Protectorate will govern through mutual benefit and technological superiority, which requires far fewer resources while producing better results." Captain Sarah Mitchell supervised the first demonstration of humanity's benevolent intentions on the liberated world of New Kepler, where Federation strip mining operations had poisoned the atmosphere and rendered vast regions uninhabitable for the native population. "Atmospheric processors online," reported Chief Engineer Williams. "We should see significant improvement in air quality within 72 hours. The human terraforming equipment worked with efficiency that amazed the local population. Machines that had been disguised as primitive mining tools for decades revealed their true capabilities, cleansing pollution that Federation science had declared permanent, while restoring ecological balance to devastated regions." Elder Sindar of the Keplerian people watched in amazement as human medical teams treated radiation sickness that had affected his species for generations. "Your healers work miracles," he told Captain Mitchell. "Federation doctors claimed our genetic damage was irreversible. Federation medicine was designed to maintain dependence rather than cure illness," Mitchell replied, watching as nanotechnology repaired cellular damage at the molecular level. "Earth's approach to healthcare focuses on healing rather than control." The pattern was repeated across hundreds of worlds as humanity demonstrated that their advanced technology extended far beyond weapons of war. Agricultural systems that had posed as simple farming equipment transformed barren worlds into garden paradises. Medical technology that exceeded Federation capabilities by centuries eliminated diseases that had plagued entire species. Dr. Rebecca Hayes coordinated the medical assistance programs from her mobile command center, monitoring the health improvements being achieved across human-controlled space. "Preliminary reports show remarkable progress," she announced during the daily briefing. "Genetic conditions that the Federation considered incurable are responding well to nanotechnology treatment." General Michael Stone oversaw the transition of military forces as former Federation soldiers were offered the choice between honorable discharge and service in the new Terran Defense Force. Many alien warriors chose to join humanity's military structure, preferring to serve under leaders who valued their contributions rather than treating them as expendable resources. "Integration is proceeding smoothly," reported Colonel Wright. "Former Federation personnel are adapting well to our command structure. They seem genuinely relieved to serve under officers who care about casualty rates." The transformation wasn't limited to military affairs. Human economists worked with local leaders to establish trade networks based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. Species that had been forced to export their resources at below-market prices suddenly found themselves receiving fair compensation for their products. Admiral Kate Morrison reviewed the strategic situation from her command center, satisfied that humanity's transition from hidden observers to galactic rulers was proceeding according to plan. "Resistance movements report minimal activity," she noted. "Most species seem genuinely pleased with the changes we're implementing." The few Federation holdouts who attempted continued resistance discovered that humanity's mercy had distinct limits. Admiral Paul Richards led surgical strikes against the remaining military installations, demonstrating that Earth's forces could eliminate threats with precision that left surrounding civilian areas completely unharmed. "Target neutralized," Richards reported from the bridge of the destroyer Nemesis. "Federation weapons depot eliminated without collateral damage. Local population is safe." The precision of human military operations impressed even former enemies. Weapons that could destroy entire star systems were used with surgical accuracy to eliminate specific threats while protecting innocent lives. This restraint demonstrated a level of technological control that the Federation had never achieved. President Carter addressed the galaxy through quantum communication networks that reached every inhabited world simultaneously. The Terran Protectorate extends an invitation to all species seeking genuine equality and mutual cooperation. "We offer technology that will improve your worlds, medicine that will heal your people, and protection that requires no tribute beyond peaceful coexistence." The response was overwhelming. Species that had suffered under Federation oppression for centuries eagerly joined the new galactic government, while even former Federation loyalists began to appreciate the benefits of human leadership. The education system established by the Terran Protectorate represented perhaps the most revolutionary change in galactic civilization. Schools throughout human space began teaching children from dozens of species together, sharing both their unique cultural heritage and the human philosophy that strength should protect rather than exploit the weak. Dr. Jennifer Walsh supervised the educational programs from the Reformed Academy of Sciences on Rigel Prime, watching as young beings from across the galaxy learned together in ways that had been impossible under Federation segregation policies. "Preliminary results are extraordinary," she reported to the Protectorate Council. "Children from different species are forming friendships that cross traditional barriers. The next generation will grow up thinking of cooperation as normal rather than revolutionary." The transformed galaxy began to demonstrate the potential that had been suppressed under Federation rule. Species that had been forced into narrow economic roles discovered new talents when given the freedom to pursue their interests. Scientific cooperation between different civilizations produced breakthroughs that exceeded anything achieved during the Federation's reign. Commander Tom Wells observed these developments from his position at Luna Base, which had been converted from a hidden military installation into a center for interspecies cooperation. "Cultural exchange programs are exceeding all projections," he reported. "Species are sharing knowledge and techniques that were kept secret under the old system." The Terran Protectorate faced its first major test when the Outer Rim territories, which had been abandoned by the fleeing Federation, requested membership despite their distance from human-controlled space. The logistics of governing such remote regions challenged even Earth's advanced capabilities. "Distance creates vulnerabilities," Admiral Morrison noted during the strategic planning session. "We need to establish permanent bases in the Outer Rim to maintain effective governance." The solution demonstrated humanity's commitment to their new responsibilities. Massive construction fleets departed from Earth, using quantum entanglement drives to establish bases throughout the galaxy's edge regions. These installations provided The same benefits as worlds closer to human space, ensuring that membership in the Protectorate offered real advantages regardless of location. The anniversary of the Federation's defeat was marked not with celebrations of military victory, but with ceremonies honoring the species that had suffered under alien oppression. Human leaders emphasized that their goal had never been conquest, but liberation of peoples who had been denied their basic rights. President Carter stood once again before the reformed Galactic Assembly, addressing representatives who no longer feared their government's arbitrary decisions. 1 year ago, this chamber echoed with threats and demands for tribute. Today, it serves as a forum for cooperation and mutual assistance. The statistics supported his words. Galactic trade had increased by 300% under human administration, while military conflicts had virtually disappeared. Species that had been enemies for millennia found themselves working together on projects that benefited entire star systems. The children who attended schools throughout the Protectorate represented the future that humanity had envisioned when they first decided to hide their capabilities from the Federation. Young beings from dozens of species learned together, played together, and formed friendships that transcended the barriers their parents had considered insurmountable. Teacher Maria Rodriguez watched her diverse classroom with satisfaction, seeing students from across the galaxy studying both their own cultural heritage and the human values that had transformed galactic civilization. They don't see differences as problems to be solved, she observed. To them, diversity is simply a natural part of life. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear and oppression now operated on principles of mutual respect and cooperation. Humanity had held back its power for 50 years, allowing the Federation to believe they controlled primitive laborers. When that power was finally revealed, it reshaped the galaxy into something better than anyone had dared to imagine. The final scene of transformation played out in the same mining stations where human deception had begun. Workers from dozens of species labored together not as slaves or oppressed minorities, but as equal partners in enterprises that benefited everyone involved. The tools they used represented the pinnacle of human technology, making their work efficient and safe rather than dangerous and exploitative. The galaxy had learned that true strength wasn't measured by the ability to destroy, but by the wisdom to build something better. Earth's children had spent 50 years preparing not just for war, but for the peace that would follow their victory. The result was a civilization that honored both power and restraint, ensuring that the galaxy's future would be brighter than its past.